RIP happiness and positivity. Oh my God, that's the soundbite. Hit the music.
In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad, good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Jeff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives them a microphone, a guest and a podcast, and the unwavering belief that he can just make everything better. Today I'm absolutely to be joined by thruptiple guest, Tim Hardie, who's here to tell us about another step of his journey with the Hall of Bones series. But he's joined this time by a very special guest, RJ Bayley, who will be going into exactly what their partnership is momentarily. Gentlemen, how are you both?
I've had a hell of a day, as we've said off mic, but including spending a large part of it asleep or brown yodeling, and then going to the getting a broken down car at Tesco's car park.
I've never heard the phrase brown yodeling. I'm going to leave that to let everyone else make up their mind on that one. Tim, how are you?
It can only mean one thing, and let's not dwell upon it, would be my advice. I've had a great day. And for which I can only apologise. Sorry.
Damn you.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod. And this is great for me. This is great for me. That's the only thing that really matters. You guys are just content. But no, Tim, this is great because this is your third. You are the first, kind of double sequel guest. I don't know what's the word.
Third.
Just it's your third time.
I've been on the show for three. This is my third time.
So you're struggling.
That's what we're trying to say, isn't it?
Yes.
What would be a double? Would it be double guest?
We're just returning.
Thrice returning?
No, because I've only returned twice.
Okay, twice
like 5 times.
returning. But that gives the impression that you've been
re-returning. Re-returning sounds like you're giving a gift back.
Yeah, we're going to edit this, aren't we?
I feel like we're dwelling.
Just to be clear, I've been on the show on 3 separate occasions,
including this.
I'm starting to wonder why.
It's for great content like this, Tim. So look, RJ, we'll get to you just a second. So Tim, this is the third time you are being with you now. I think a year ago. It must be close to the first time, maybe even a bit over that. So give us a quick roundup of the books. And tell us where you are with them, and that should seamlessly move us into why RJ is here as well.
Yes, fine. So, I'm a UK-based fantasy author. I've been writing a series called The Brotherhood of the Eagle, which Hall of Bones is the first book in that series, and it made the self-published fantasy blog off finals back in 2021, and I've been continuing that series over the years. Ever since. So I'm about to release the 4th and final book later on in 2024, so that'll be called Broken Brotherhood. So having got to the point of having a complete series, just going through final edits now, I'm starting to look at some wider possibilities. And one of the things I've always wanted to do is actually produce an audiobook version of the series. So that's really why I'm on here today. It's to talk about that. So I'm going to go with a crowdfunding approach, which is becoming increasingly terrifying the more I think about it. I'm just going to carry on and plow on regardless. So I'm going to be I'm launching a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign on the 11th of March to fund the audiobook version of Hall of Bones. That's why I'm here.
Fantastic. And first time, singular, one-off.
Yeah.
Maybe not one-off, maybe the first of a returning.
Could be.
3-time. Anyway, RJ,
we'll see how much you like my contribution this time.
So, RJ, thank you very much for that, Tim, and giving us the update. But this is where you come in, RJ.
Yeah, I am creator of said audiobook. Hopefully, I'm a voice actor. I'm a audiobook narrator is kind of like my bread and butter. I've been doing this full time for 7 years. So yeah, I worked with Tim on a we've been in the same Twitter circles and chatted and followed each other, and we tweet back and forth and stuff. As people there seems to be like a class of whatever it was that was for the self-published fantasy blog off that year, and they've all stuck together. And I originally started working with another author called Holly Tinsley on a book called We Men of Ash and Shadow, and then did the audiobook for her. And then as I got to know people through her, Tim was one of the people, and I'm very glad to. They all got together, or not all of them, but a few of them got together with other authors and did a book called The Anatomy of Fear. And Holly asked me to do the audiobook of that, which was the result of another Kickstarter, actually, to be able to fund. It sounds really arrogant and it's so bad, but to be able to pay me to do it sounds awful. But there are certain, I've got to make a living. So I really enjoyed Tim's story as well. And I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I had been eyeing up his books and being like, I really hope he asks me to do. I'll be really upset if he asks someone else to do. I really hope he asks me to do the audiobooks. And so we got chatting, and I really enjoyed his story, and he enjoyed what I did with his story in that anthology. So we got chatting. I explained, he was asking for some advice on it, and I said there's a few different options, that the way I'm able to make audiobooks, the way that can be paid for, and Kickstarter seemed like the best way to go. So the Kickstarter is going to be happening imminently, and I've never seen a more comprehensively well prepared Kickstarter than this. Is absolutely crackers. Honestly, it is. So I'm so impressed with how detailed and together this Kickstarter plan seems to be, and you as a result, Tim.
Cheers, mate.
It's great to meet you, RJ. And how's it? It must feel really weird, right? Because when you write a book, you've kind of got, it's your voice, right? You may have an idea of what people sound like and things, but this is the guy. Sorry, I know this is obviously what it is because this is your job, but you're the voice of Tim's book now, and that's when you've only ever read your book in your own head, in your own voice, or whatever you imagine it. Is that not surreal, Tim?
That's really the point of doing it to a certain extent. So yeah, like RJ just mentioned before, writing a short story for that anthology. Obviously, you're right. I had a complete view of what those people sounded like, who they were. And when you work in like an audiobook environment and get a voice actor on board, I think one of the things you've got to understand is you're creating something new. So obviously, I hope we haven't actually cleared the lines on this fully yet, RJ, but I'm hoping that he doesn't introduce like his own scenes and characters and stuff and just torpedo the whole thing. It's my words, but it's your interpretation of those words, isn't it? It's your interpretation so it's like a different actor reading the same script and giving a different performance at different venues over the years for the same play. It's that kind of thing. That for me, it just transformed. That's really why I got on board with this. That Anatomy of Fear story, it just came to life in a way that I was quite surprised by my own writing and what was about to happen next, because it just enabled me to engage with that story in a totally different way. And I think that's what audiobooks give you, that opportunity to give readers a different experience. And of course, not every reader is able to read. A lot of people only consume audiobooks because, visually impaired or whatever, they can't actually access that particular material in another medium. So it's a great way to actually, I think, give something fresh to the series, and the book as a whole. Really. So I'm quite excited by all of that, because I think it's going to be a really interesting journey.
Before we get into making some bits better, Tim, do you want to give us a lowdown on the Kickstarter and kind of what's the certain levels and bits? Give us a rundown of that.
So I think we'll put the link into the show notes. There's a bit of people being able to find it, but if you search Hall of Bones, Tim Hardie Kickstarter, it should can be fairly easy to find. You're right. There are basically, the way it works is that you can make a financial donation to make the project happen at different levels. So effectively, the more you contribute, the more rewards you get. So it goes from a mini audiobook, a set of exclusive short stories, through to be able to get your own signed copies. So that there's basic different combinations of ways you can sort of financially support it. The main goal is just getting £1,150, which is services. So that's our first target, and that gets all the bones recorded. If we get up to the first stretch goal, which is £4,600, then I start adding short stories into the accompanying short story collection that's going to go on with the series. And then if we go through further stretch goals, there's exclusive artwork and additional stories get chucked into the mix as well. So basically, the more stretch goals we achieve, the better the overall project is.
Sure.
If we get to the higher end of things, and actually we'd start recording more of the series. So the goal is simply to record the first book, and that's the objective of the project. But if we do well, then we can record books 2, 3, and 4 as well as part of that. So whether the project funds on day 1 or funds on day 30, I'll be pushing it regardless, because obviously the more of the series I can record in one go,
Sure.
the better. Particularly, I think, for RJ's sanity, having looked at the logistics. So yeah, that's the basic way it's going to work.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with that. So it's 11th of March, which by the powers of, I don't know, editing and podcasting, is today. If for anyone who's listening, so we're stepping into the future now. You see,
time travel.
Or just I can hit the publish or schedule button in the right place, which I've learned to do, which is great.
It'd be great to do that, Jeff. Actually, it really would.
I can do that just for you, Tim. See, and I think that's a Monday, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. Yes.
That's a Monday. And see, my podcast usually goes out on Tuesday. So see what I'm doing. I'm literally shifting heaven and earth for you, Tim.
I massively appreciate it.
Jack, yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. Right. Okay, Jim, without any further ado, what is it that we are making better today?
I think it was kind of like Tim and I were brainstorming, and I came up with the thought of social media, which is both a wonderful thing. Me and Tim wouldn't know each other. Also, without it, but also horrific. Truly horrific.
You're right. I mean, what is it that in particular gripes you about social media?
So what I don't like is the way it pushes. First of all, it pushes.
I love the way you change your posture. You're like, right, okay, here we go. It's about to get real. I've noticed this particularly on Facebook recently as well. It pushes stuff that it pushes in your face stuff that you will hate, like controversial, unpleasant stuff. Stuff that is almost like ideological. It knows what your ideologies are and your morals, and it pushes you the opposite of that. It tries to bait you into like going into these. It suddenly started giving me all these groups and pages that I don't follow that are suggested at the top, because I'm like, I do not follow this. I'm not part of this. Why is this? Why would I follow this? And then it says in a little grayed out text, suggested, and I'm like, oh, that's why you think I should join this thing I hate. Because if I join something I hate, that means I'm going to get into arguments a lot. And that means that there'll be a lot of traffic. I will spend longer on the platform, giving them more data to harvest that they can then sell off for whatever means the buyers want it for. So it kind of like, what I don't like is it's kind of like encouraging confrontation and combativeness and negative mind, like it's trying to monetize negativity to some degree, which I find really bad, and I'm really bad getting sucked down the hole. I really shouldn't. I'm really glad that my professional name is not the same as my real name, because I don't want people seeing what arguments are getting to on Facebook, where it's like I see some nonsense and I'm like, I can't allow that person to think that they're correct. And then I'm like, okay, right. I'll just make a polite comment saying, well, actually, according to these sources, da-da-da-da-da. And then they'll get back to me hostile, and then I will get my back up. So yeah, that's something I don't like about it. Yeah, I can totally relate, and I think I've mentioned it before on this podcast. I've got to a point now where I stop myself, but to the extent where I've got so far down, like, well, I've written my reply, and then I'm there, and it's almost like I weigh up the pros and cons. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, the cons are wasting my time talking to someone who I'm never going to meet, who's probably a bot, who
Yeah.
hasn't obviously, doesn't care about facts, and have just got this opinion. But on the other hand, I know that I've told them the right thing. So
Yeah.
at least, I delete it every time now, whereas I didn't used to. And but you know what? I'm an equal. So like, I managed to make it so I get annoyed with everyone. So I don't, whether it's like politics or anything, I don't really care what the subject is. If someone makes a comment and it sounds to me like it's stupid, I'll then research it, even if it's something I don't know about. I'll research
I'm the same.
it.
I'm exactly the same.
If it sounds bigoted or anything in any way, if it's just someone with their opinion on or whatever, that's what everyone's entitled to their opinion. But if it sounds like bigoted, or if they're using grandeur of some distinction to try and like make their point, and it's like, that's definitely a lie, and you find out it's a lie. I'm like, but then 30, 40, 50 minutes down the line, I'm like, right, here's the answer. Here's the actual correct answer. I type out the message, and I don't press send because I weigh up the pros and cons.
I've done that a million times. And then but what I do is I know that my phone will keep, I think, something in a clipboard, like a copy and paste for half an hour. So I copy and paste it before I delete. And then I'm like, because that way, if I decide that I am furious enough to go back and leave the comment, I don't have to retype it all. I can just go paste it in again. Because I'm like, well, I've done all that research.
I'm just gobsmacked. I thought I had problems, but listening to you two, I think this is why this show had to happen today.
See, you're just there in your kind of blissful life of not caring about things that don't matter. So I've got a couple of Twitter accounts. One's kind of my personal, one's the podcast, even though my personal is pretty much just a podcast one now. But what I find certainly with X now is just it's all either people promoting their books and stuff, which is great. We'll like and share away on that, or just extreme political views.
Yeah.
Or I get a lot of stuff about Harry and Meghan. I don't know why. But I don't care. I don't care about American politics. I think it has a big impact over the whole world. So I kind of do care in the fact of, I want them to do all right, so we're all right. I don't care about Harry and Meghan as long as they're happy. But there's just these hate campaigns that go on from all sides, left, right, up, down. Like, and I'm like, right, well, you need someone. I want, if I had the money, I would be Twitter Batman, and I would just go and save the world of misinformation and swear at them a lot.
That's quite a bold statement, isn't it? Really, I mean, what you've just. If we're looking for solutions, I want to back you, Jeff, but I don't believe you can carry through. I don't believe you can carry through on that promise.
If I was a billionaire with time and resources, I wouldn't be out fighting crime. I would be on social media the whole time. Just telling people fact check. Because I'd be fact checking. It wouldn't just be giving my opinion. I'd be fact checking what people say. People would be like, it's going to snow later, and I was getting there on the old weather channels that actually there's only a 6% chance that this is, so you're wrong. Face. And then I'll go off and do something else. A little bit.
Thank God you've saved just from that bit of misinformation about impending snow or not. Do you not think that's the whole problem, though? That you said it before, RJ, that the whole algorithm is you're feeding the beast by being Batman. But I don't think Jeff Jones should be Batman. The simple reason that you're then feeding the beast.
Tim.
Well, if you're going to be Batman, be a good Batman that's not on social media 24/7, because that would be a shit film to watch.
Social media needs Twitter Batman. You've already got the Joker who's running the blooming show, so see that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, even satire. I mean, that's the level we've got to now. But no, it's you can't. I think that's it. I think a lot of people post stuff because I think there's two different types of people who post stuff. There's people that post stuff just to piss you off because they know it's wrong, and they're just looking for Twitter Batman to put his pants on and start to argue the toss about something they don't care about, you don't care about, and if I'm scrolling through, I don't care about. So that's a monumental waste of everyone's time, isn't it? And then I suppose that there's the other side of that where, there are some pretty, people that have got pretty terrible views that can hide behind the anonymity of the whole thing and put those out, and they genuinely believe it. But I'm pretty sure Twitter Batman won't be able to fight that either. And so I think there's two sides to it, but I just don't think going in all guns blazing is the answer with this.
Oh, it definitely isn't. I mean, because you're 100% right there, Tim. Because what you have is people who do get their, I don't know, was it their clout, their jollies from posting something, and then they've kind of could have that kind of confirmation bias where a lot of like-minded people get involved and they say, "Oh yes, you are right," and they're like, "Haha, I knew I was right about whatever view that I've got." But then also because the algorithms and because X and Facebook will then put it in the face of people who have, and this is something which I don't, and to say I was an awful lot worse than I am now. These days I'm a lot more have a lot more self-control. But what you do is you go on to you see a comment or a video or something of someone you don't like, and it's all planned, RJ. You're totally right. It shows up on your feed, and then you see all these people, and you're like, this is, even if you just put what a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
You are now, if you're anti-Trump, you will now start seeing loads of Trump things, and it fuels.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing it. You go, I've got to tell more people this is rubbish. More people this is rubbish. And this is why and I had this thought the other day actually that there's more. It's certainly in politics. There's more negativity about other parties than positivity about one's own party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of a single positive post I've seen actually when it comes to those sort of things. It's all driven by negativity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. But I wonder if that is as a partial result of social media in a way. I wonder if they know that's what hooks people in and entices people to participate, and therefore if they do what social media does, and it's like a force multiplier. And like we do something negative, and it will basically blow up. All the people who want confirmation bias will be like, yeah, woo, clap, clap, clap. And then all of the people who don't want to see it will see it, and it'll be shoved in those people's faces. And then they'll have to go in or feel they have to go in and explain why all this is nonsense or something. Like, I saw as well. I was going to mention a minute ago, but you were on a lovely flow. That
I was ranting. Sorry.
No, I enjoyed it a great deal. That I saw a study a while ago that says people get addicted. Literally, drama is addictive to people. People now get it. Like, there's been studies to say that being involved in drama and conflict is an addictive thing, and so. I think that kind of like social media absolutely exacerbates that and plays into that addiction and does, I suppose, exploit an addiction in a way that people do feel the need, that people know. Like, I'm sure we all, if we were doing this, would know that it's not going to yield a particularly good result. It's not going to be a particularly great use of our time. We'll often not come out of it feeling like we have changed someone's mind or made the world a better place. We'll probably just feel negative from the interaction. And yet, like other addictions, you're compelled to do it anyway, even though you know that it's not going to be the best thing for you.
I mean, I've stopped listening to the news. I've stopped reading anything news purely because of the negativity. Like I won't go on social media first thing in the morning unless I've got notifications from people that I know and recognize, because I get notifications from loads of people and I have no idea who they are. If it's people that recognize, I will. But otherwise, it's stuff because generally, and it's this whole bubble thing of I know if I get a notification and I see Tim's name, it's not going to be negative. It's not going to be political. It's it's going to be generally book related or Tim related, certainly. So I know that is a safe person to look at, but I very much stay away from it because I was just get annoyed just all the time, just angry.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things I do find really, what I'm trying to do is obviously reach out to an audience. I use social media as a tool, and it's a necessary tool, and it has all the problems we've just been describing. But it does mean you have to make new connections. So you can't just stay in your safe zone and hang out with those people. You've got to occasionally like or accept a friend request from somebody. And then, especially on Facebook, immediately they're direct messaging you with inane nonsense. And you just think, how is that interaction ever? How many times must that interaction be totally negative, and then what, it's worth doing it because 1 in 1,000 people responds, and then you actually do send them the money across to some far part of the world. It just beggars belief, but it's almost I just don't understand the mindset of somebody that thinks that the minute I accept their friendship, I want to then talk to them about my innermost workings of my current day. That precise minute when in the middle of work or whatever. And especially the annoying ones where you don't reply and then they ask you again if you still want to chat later on. No, I don't want to chat to you in that way. It's all, I don't know you. I've literally, accepting friends in my view is the equivalent of saying, hello, nice to meet you. We are now acquainted in a very British way.
Oh, nice.
But the whole model seems to completely cut across British sensibilities and values, doesn't it? And this very intrusive nonsense starts to go on.
Yeah, and I don't friend people anymore. I for a while, if someone sends me a friend request, I send them a personal message saying, being as polite as possible and saying, hello, I apologize if my memory's failed me, but have I ever met you before? Have we met before? And most often they will just reply with, no, I just thought I'd send you a friend request. And I'd look to see if they've got any mutual friends, and they haven't, and they're from like Singapore or Botswana or anywhere else that I've never been, and I'm like, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm not because I don't make friends with just random
friend
people
requests, right? And that's what I mean. I'd say that. So certainly Facebook. So I kind of use different social media for different things. Most of it these days is podcast related because that's the baby. Facebook though, I do keep for just people I know, and there's some extended people on that. And I mean, even the situation I was kind of describing earlier of it correcting people. It's like my wife's friend's husband, who I've met twice. We had a great night or whatever it was, and made friends with him, but actually have nothing in common. Now, like him enough in real world. Should we meet again, I will talk to him for hours on end. But actually, we have nothing Facebook worthy in common. So I was like, what do I do? What do I do now? Because I've now made this connection, but I don't want to be. However, I would really like to, go out for a couple of beers or go to a party and there, whatever it is.
I find the formalization of it very difficult. The formalization of friendships. Like I met. There was a friend who got married, and therefore his brother-in-law, who I got on well with, was like, sent me a friend request. And that was difficult because it was like, I might encounter him before. And and maybe it looks bad if I just reject the friend request. Kind of need to accept it. But then, like, they post a lot of stuff, not a lot, but quite a lot of stuff that I find objectionable, like a bit abhorrent morally, and it might be bigoted and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh God, like I'd rather not know this. But also, I'm like, firstly, I want to point out to you, if you are saying you're the vocal minority, the silent majority finally speaks, I'm like, well, if you think you're the silent majority, like, and none of you are speaking, like, I can't allow you to believe that this is a view that everyone secretly holds,
Yeah.
because that's an awful view to hold. And I don't want you and your friends who see it to believe that that, I don't know, people from a certain religious background or aren't welcome here or something. Like, I'm like, I don't want you to believe that you're right see, no one's arguing with me. I am 100% correct in I don't want people to see that. I kind of want to argue for the benefit of others, not just that person. But I can't, because it's my friend's brother-in-law, and that'd be really awkward.
Yeah.
And then my head also goes into spirals of like, how come you just assume that you're going to post this stuff in front of me? Because a lot of people don't think social media is real life for some reason. I find that weird. So they're like going, it's just online, mate. And it's like, but if you were in a pub and you started shouting this stuff, you'd get into trouble. Like, and this is what it seems like to me. This seems to me like you're just loudly broadcasting this in the same room as me now. And I'm like, what's going on in your brain to think that, this is an acceptable thing to say? People, say what I want, mate.
Acceptable, hasn't it? That's the whole point. Social media has made the unacceptable acceptable, because you can. I mean, it's interesting that you're that particular person. You actually know them in real life. That's really awkward.
Yeah.
And I don't have any advice for you on that. Other than, I don't know, just move house and don't give me. But I think that's the most insidious thing about it. It's actually popularizing the most unspeakable and awful things and giving it a platform, and people can also hide behind it. And I think it's interesting. We're having this conversation, and it's, let's be honest, it's three white blokes having a chat, and there are things that we obviously encounter that's pretty horrible. You had if you did the same podcast show, say, Jeff, with women on the audience, for example, in the on the panel, for example, rather than us, you get a very different experience of social media than what we're just describing.
Very, very true.
Visible, but lots of people have a very different, and it's a pretty frightening place to be. And so, at the same time, it also feeds upon the objectionable, because that's what drives the reaction, the views, and the likes and things. It's a pretty strange beast we've created, isn't it? Because I think in some ways social media, it is what we actually are. Like the guy you described, RJ, he holds those views, and he's found a place where he can actually safely, in his mind, express them. And do you put on Batman's pants and challenge him and have a really terrible day as a result, or do you let it go? And I think both of those are pretty bad options in a way, aren't they? It doesn't give you an option.
And I think certainly, I think this may have been my turning point. It was probably Brexit. And that was maybe when I was at my most politically vocal, like a lot of people were. And I tried mixing it up between factuals as much as we could without really knowing what the hell was going on, and jokes, because and I lost a lot of acquaintances or a lot of friends during that time. I think it's more the jokes than my political opinions, but I'm not 100% sure. But that was when I realized that, you're not going to change anyone's opinion from a couple of hours messaging to back and forth. I mean, it's whether it's sports rivalry, political rivalry, whatever, it's hardwired into people, and social media kind of conversation isn't going to change that. But what also I really do, and I believe this with 100% of my heart and soul, is that there are people giving strong political points and advice that I have seen urinate on themselves whilst drunk. I'm not going to take political advice from those people. I know 100% who I would listen to. That person's not them. And that was the one guarantee I took away from Brexit.
Very nice.
It's a beautiful story, and
it is.
conjures an image in the mind like nothing else I've ever heard.
Well,
Flipping it round, the other thing, and desperately trying to move away from that image, flipping it round, I think the other thing, so there's obviously lots of stuff where stuff gravitates to, and you end up with these horrible, 150 comments on a post on X, hundreds of comments and likes on a vile post on Facebook or whatever. But then there's Tim Hardie. He's an author. He wants to reach out and let people know that he's got books and stuff, and maybe post some nice stuff. And that, of course, doesn't really feed the algorithm in quite the same way, does it? So there's the people that seem to have the platform that's enormous, and it all gravitates to. And then at the same time, you try and do something positive, and it's like shouting into the void. And I found that psychologically when I was trying to get into social media for the first time, very, very difficult, because it felt like, what's the point of trying to be positive? What's the point of trying to be creative? No one cares. Or even worse, one person cares, and they care consistently for every post forevermore. You get a like that moves you from 0 to 1. I find that quite. I just find that quite interesting. How it's almost like it's a will. I was going to say I think it's very random, but I don't think it is actually random. It's actually. That's not very interesting, Tim. That's not very controversial. Push it down the old visibility ratios there, so no one actually gets to see it. But people would want to see it if it was only visible.
Yeah, absolutely,
quite possibly. But Tim, sorry, RJ, just very quick, because I will forget what I was going to say, because I do that an awful lot. People, and what you said earlier about how kind of people are, I don't know, can feel like they can be themselves on social media, or don't forget, people are inherently just jealous of others, and actually would rather see someone not succeed than succeed. So people seeing,
oh God, I'm about to watch a Kickstarter, Jeff, for crying out loud.
No,
no,
but it is. So don't get me wrong. You're going to have supportive people. You're going to have those, the therapists. You're going to have people who will do see the good in it, but the majority of people, and hey, if you do disagree, so this isn't about about you, Tim, but this is about people in general, that everyone, if you see a celebrity or a sports star or a musician and they've made it and they're there, then people can disassociate from that. They can say, well, they've nepotism, they've had this help, they've had that help. Well, that's, but Tim Hardie, who they've seen on Twitter, struggling, trying to build his platform, getting through the books, going on the journey with you. That's fantastic. We're so glad for you, Tim, but we don't want you to do too well, because then what's my excuse? Does that make sense? So again, quite deep in with it. So a lot of the time, success isn't a measure of how good the work is. And so I'm really just taking a dump over your dreams here, Tim. This isn't related to this is just a wider thing, and how social media kind of goes into that. I'd say as a thing, I set up the YouTube channel properly for this, and it's just like little bits and pieces. It's got the podcast, so you can listen with your eyes or something. All the episodes went up, and I started just posting the links. Within 4 days, some nobody posted on so I did a PTSD special. The most popular episode I've ever done, had people reach out and say, thank you for, literally, it just, I don't know, it filled me with so much joy, just how many people it touched. That's just, it was great. However, with probably not even listening to it, well, I know they hadn't listened to it, because it'd only just gone up on YouTube and had 0 views, and someone just commented with self-promo much. What? So obviously I'm like, reply, but then I deleted the reply. I wrote it, I sent it, but I was like, no, it's just someone looking for the attention I was willing to give them. And this is
promo much. That's the content.
What else am I meant to do? Well, that's the first thing. Yeah, that was just the content. But how? Well, of course I'm going to promote it. But so this is just what I'm saying to you, is that people are bored.
People are bored, and I think you're right that I suppose it's interesting. I think, again, being British in particular, we don't like people to be too successful, do we? But I mean that does span the globe in terms of how people people get jealous. I wouldn't suggest anyone gets jealous of jealous of me. There are far easier ways to throw money down the drain and just watch it vanish in front of you. But I don't do it for that. I do it because I enjoy doing it. You podcast because you enjoy doing it. And yeah, you obviously want a positive reaction to what you're doing. Simply with voice acting, I'm sure you don't want people to say, RJ can't actually act. You don't want that. But that's the minority of people will kind of come and say that, won't they? Because they can't handle it.
Yeah.
I do find there are people who are positive and they do support you on the journey, and it feels a bit like that there's almost like two camps almost at war, and one is muted down and dialed down, the positive people, and I consider you guys to be positive people. No, definitely I think your podcast is the epitome of positivity on social media, actually, because you get a topic, you talk about it, not always coherently, but you are trying to make that topic better, aren't you? You're trying to address it, and I think that we need more of this kind of content and this kind of stuff. In all seriousness, you didn't even have to pay me to say that. It was free.
Fine, Tim, I'll donate to the Kickstarter.
Come on, yes. We'll tears after but no, it's so there are two camps. I think you're right, and there are people that don't like people that are being successful, don't like people even having a go. Why is he doing that? What's the point of doing that? He hasn't sold that many, has he? Yeah, all right. But the point is, you wouldn't sell one if you didn't do it. You wouldn't record your first audiobook if you didn't record your first audiobook or your first podcast. And so you have, I think in some ways, we talk about imposter syndrome a little bit in terms of that last recording we did. This is another form of it. It's almost like somebody else's imposter syndrome. They have to pull you down because they can't handle the fact you've done something positive, and all they can do is carp from the sidelines. So I see both sides of that. People will like it. Plenty of people do get the other side of the picture and are positive and do support and promote. I honestly wouldn't be an author now still if it wasn't for the positive side of social media and the friendships are made through that, and the people that have supported me on that journey. You mentioned Holly before, RJ. Probably crucial person in actually me carrying on. I think I'd have checked out at book 2 without Holly actually sort of like, making that contact, helping me sort of navigate the ropes of it. Those kind of things. Those sort of positive people are out there, but they're just bloody hard to find because we're having to wade through so much nonsense half the time. That I think is it's just a reflection really of where we are today, I guess.
I think as well, it's interesting. I feel like what you were talking about, with tall poppy syndrome and stuff. I feel that shows like that shows just how very not connected to the realities of trying to create something they are, and I think it's a really unintelligent point of view to take, because if I want my friends and so on to do well and be successful, because that's what I want for them on a plain level. But there is also the mercenary side, which is like, if I'm friends with Tim, and Tim's books get so popular that he gets a movie deal, or it becomes the new Game of Thrones or something, I'm like grabbing those coattails, right? I am letting them lift me way into the sky.
Because, I'm open to that, by the way, just to be clear, for all listening, I'm open to what RJ just outlined.
Because, if my friends get popular, people I'm connected to, or colleagues, or however you want to term relationships, get popular, and I'm in their orbit, and I've done something with them, then they'll go back and look at my audiobooks, the audiobooks of the original project, or even if it's like a different book series someone has written, but that will make that author popular, and they'll look at what else the author's done. And if I've done the audiobook, then that's absolutely fantastic for me as well, especially if I get a royalty cut. So I think it's like when people have that like tall poppy syndrome on social media, and it totally is, it can stoke jealousy because people like to show off, people like to show the highlight reel of their life. Then I can, I do understand why that can make people jealous when they're like jobbing away at a occupation they hate or something, and life's very hard or what have you. But like, it's not the sensible thing to do, because like, if you've been really nice and supportive of someone, if they go stratospheric, they're going to remember you as being a good person and be like, oh yeah, RJ was really nice to me. Hey, I'm going to shine a spotlight on what he does, or some of his projects. So it's just like, it's a real dumb thing to not want people to succeed and not support them. Really is.
Just imagine a world without art, without creativity, and how we'd all how dull that would be. And I think people just take that side of life for granted and just think it happens. But of course it doesn't. It only happens because somebody sits down and decides to write a really bad book, and then writes it and gradually improves to the point where they're awesome, obviously, just to be clear. But you have to take those sort of steps to make life better. That's what I think we're doing. I mean, I book review for a similar reason. I don't book review because I'm book reviewing somebody that I think will give me something. I'll do it because I really want people to know they've written a really good book, and I love it, and I think other people should know it. So I find a platform to do that, and I make sure that I get the word out about it. But I am very positive about being positive, put it that way, because I think that is the only way you can deal with what we've just been talking about, actually, is that what's the alternative? It's either to go in swinging, which, okay, yeah, occasionally, I think you're right, RJ, you just got to say, you're just talking nonsense, you ignorant fool. You've got to say, sometimes you've just got to say you're talking complete nonsense. But I think unless there's something out there, unless there's another voice out there that's a positive, for everything you feel you need to comment on and say, stop being a fool, it would also be great if you had another thing you could say, this is great, and Tim's done this, or I could say, RJ is doing this over here, or look at Jeff's latest post on whatever, on PTSD, which, like I said, was a really important thing to post about. So shout about that and post about it, and lift those things up. I mean, it's that cliche, isn't it? Rising tide lifts all ships. But I think that's the only way you can respond to it. And again, that sometimes feels utterly pointless, and sometimes you will just get the pity like. But I'd rather be posting that content than posting stuff to shock and outrage and getting a load of trolls jumping on and boosting my algorithm. I'm just not going to do it. It's as simple as that.
But even remember though that even that kind of pity like that then becomes part of someone else's algorithm, which means that you then pop up. So even if it's something, it's Tim, I'll give him a like, and I don't know, they don't really digest the content of the tweet or whatever it is, or they just like you and they're like, whatever. Like, for me, there's a lot of people I just like, and I may not be in a position to review a book or buy a book or help with something or do anything, but like I was saying earlier, I know there's people who are just positive, so almost like I can trust. So you don't actually need to fully understand or engross yourself in what's happening all the time.
That's a really good point. Actually, I think I'm slightly wrong, because actually anything that's positive, anything that's meant positively, has a value, doesn't it? And whether it's one thing, one single press of a button, or whether it's amplifying stuff and building a huge platform for a podcast, it actually starts in that same seed, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the only thing, and what you are right about, is that it's that old adage of if someone has a negative experience, they'll tell 10 people. If someone has a positive experience, they'll tell one person. If someone makes a negative, I pretty much guarantee we could all tweet out one positive and one negative statement, and the negative statement would just get whether it's 5 or 50 times more, it will be the more engaged with, because it's either people disagreeing, which is fine, and everyone's entitled to that, or people agreeing because you're part of their kind of their circle of bias. So, but if someone says something positive, hey, look, I've done this, created that picture of the sunrise. Yes, people may interact, but it will be less. Because humans are like that. And like RJ was saying about that kind of conflict addiction.
Funnily enough, I will say as well, I actually do that thing as well, where I'm like, I might not engage with something, but if there's a YouTube channel that I like, for example, I might not watch the half-hour video, but I'll retweet it, because I'm like, trying to show support and be like, listen, I've not got time for that right now, but I know that they're good people. I'm gonna support them, even if I can't personally have vetted that video and vouched for it or whatever. I wanna show them support, and it's free way of doing it. It's an easy way of doing it.
It's like when you sign the government petition online, but don't donate to.
Yeah.
I'll share it. It's fine.
Exactly. You go, yes, I'll share. Close window.
Close window.
Yeah.
I'll email it to someone. Email it to self.
Yeah.
Not that we do that, because he's very supportive of everything we believe in.
Exactly.
Sorry,
but also, funnily enough, like you were mentioning about how, like, if I tweet something negative or I tweet something positive, I think I've actually might not experience that, because I think I've curated my social media friendship enough, or sorry, social group enough, that they're all just like mostly really positive people. So funnily enough, like if I tweeted something positive, I'd probably get more interaction from my social group on social media, and then less because they might think it's like, because they're just naturally positive people, that they might not like the negative thing I've tweeted. But that is also has to take into account that the wider public pay absolutely no no interest in what I'm saying. So the only things that like I get interacted with are by people I know generally. So yeah, I never capture the zeitgeist with like a viral tweet or anything by saying anything negative. Maybe I need to start saying more negative things, and that's how I will capture the zeitgeist.
I said the way to make everything better is to become more negative. No, so that's not the point of this.
Brilliant. We've absolutely nailed it.
Oh dear. It is a funny thing. And you know what, we've kind of, well, I don't even know if we've delved into some part of social media. Like it is a kind of a cacophony of just, I think, do you know what it is? It's the world is smaller now. And like it or hate it, people do feel like they can be comfortable in expressing opinion, whether we see it as right or we see it as wrong. Don't get me wrong, there's some things which are very clearly wrong, and they are in a minority. But yeah, everyone's got an opinion, and there was one thing I say, like with this podcast, I've had people on with a range of different opinions on things. Now, we never go too far right, we never go too far left. Like we kind of, I never touch really on politics and religion, things like that, because I think that can just get completely railroaded. But the guests who come on, I don't kind of vet their social media to an extent of, look at, oh well, actually they've said something negative about something, which, because everyone does have a voice. And actually we've not really had, apart from one about a guy who really wasn't a fan of the monarchy, even people with a completely different point of view on a different subject to me have come on and been a fantastic guest. And so actually we do need to broaden our horizons. We can't completely ignore the fact other people exist just because they have a different opinion of politics to us or religion to us or football team, because otherwise you'll never actually change, you'll never open your mind to something new either. And I'm not saying about changing that belief, I'm talking about that person will have a different idea on something else because of their experience. And social media does give you that benefit, but I think the biggest problem is just the people who use it. There needs to be stronger vetting process put in place. Something you said earlier, which made me laugh, was people looking for this drama. Do you remember when Facebook, in the very early days of Facebook, and the kind of most drama you had was someone put in on Facebook, fuming, and everyone's like, are you okay? I'll message you. Okay. I can't believe they did that. And you're like, what? I don't know what it is, but that was all we had. And now I can see what's happening across the other side of the world, and someone who I once saw urinate on their own shoes has got an opinion on it. Like it's mad how it's just evolved in the last 20, I don't know, 18, 15, I don't know how many years it is.
I remember when Facebook, your status was a drop-down menu. You couldn't even input things. In the very early days, it was like at a party, at work, in a park. So innocuous. It was amazing. Maybe we need that.
Maybe that's it.
Go back to the times.
You can only ever, you can only ever be at a party, in the park, at work, or chilling at home.
Or fuming.
Yeah,
No.
fuming, yeah. But you're not allowed to say what it is because
no one knows why. Jeff is
Yeah.
fuming right now.
So these days it would be, Jeff is at a far right rally, or Jeff is
Is he now?
Jeff is at a help the homeless protest.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it would be quite
Yeah.
quite a thing. But no, that's not going to be the soundbite of me saying I'm at a far right rally.
Someone clip that.
Yes. I don't think Tim will thank me if that is the, because I do a little bit now at the beginning of an episode where it's like a 10-second soundbite of it. So Tim, do I have your permission to make sorry, that made myself laugh. Jeff is at moving on. Right, so
absolutely 100% clear. No, Jeff, you do not have.
Jeff is at a far right rally. Hit the intro. Right, okay. So I thought this has been a fantastic conversation. I love this kind of stuff. It's a meaty topic which you can talk about for hours because we've spoken about a specific side of social media. Yeah, we touched on the positives and an awful lot of negatives, and I think there's so much more you can delve into. But how do we make it better? Not that I'm actually 100% sure what part of social media we're making better, or just social media in general.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah,
I think just flip the algorithm and it only gives you nice things, just feeds you nice things all the time.
Tim wants a master remote where he can. That's a throwback to a previous episode of Tim.
If only such a thing existed, but it clearly can't, can it? Because it would be massive and have far too many buttons for all the different devices.
Oh goodness! But I like the flip the algorithm. Positive, or maybe you can, like, I don't know, have it before you post something. Well, first of all, actually, if you've been drinking, you should have to do a breathalyzer before posting on social media. That should by now just be a given.
That's how I get my best interaction. So let's not
job people. But maybe it should have just a little. Are you sure you want to post this? You know how Netflix comes up with, are you still watching?
Yeah.
Just like you're about to post something, you press send, and then it kind of goes, bink. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Really? Like, gives you that face like.
I don't know if Twitter still does this, but it did have something, or was it Facebook? I think it's Twitter, where it was like, where if I went to retweet something, where it was an article, but I might have read the article elsewhere, and I'm like going to read. It would be like, do you want to read the article first before you share? And I'm like, that's a pretty good thing. Like, no, I'll reshare, but I'm glad you asked. I appreciate you asking me.
Yeah.
Just that little speed bump right there, just to get. Are you sure you want to? The other day, I actually yesterday, I posted something in a Facebook group. Once I hit enter, it said, "Are you sure you want to send that? That it contains the kind of content that usually goes against our community standards and gets deleted from this group." And it was perfectly innocuous, not a problem. I was just making an analogy through like how many people to shoot, but like it thought I was like thought I was genuinely advocating for shooting people. I thought that was pretty interesting, the way it popped up and was like, it's detected that I'm talking about shooting people. Do I really want to post that in this occasion? Yeah, but again, I'm
in an appropriate way.
Yeah,
that's in the community group.
So that's the sound bite, right, about shooting. Yeah. Okay. No. Tim, no. Okay. But yeah, but there's I mean it's a great idea, and Tim knows, RJ, I know you've listened to a couple of episodes, and not everything that we suggest to make better is actually in the realms of possibility. This is the kind of thing which is totally in the realms of possibility, where the actual people who run your Zuckerbergs and Musks and whoever. It's probably just those two these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where they can put things in place to say, the fact checker, like, I know if it comes up before it's posted, or so, I know, which probably isn't possible, but I'm sure there is ways, because they've got their billion-dollar companies which can create algorithms out of nothing, can make me crave honey roasted Kellogg's because I once said it when I was in Tesco's and my phone overheard me, and now all of a sudden I'm getting adverts every other post. So surely they can, but they don't want to, do they? Because of negative interaction.
They found a way that works for them. Whereas, like, we're trained to respond to it. I feel like we're trained to want to get into those arguments almost. Like, I feel like social media, it's obviously the internet revolutionized the world, but like social media must have as well. Like I think it must change the psychology of like whole nations, in the case of like Britain or something, or like America to some degree. Like the way it just, like, people are on it all the time. I'm on it all the time. It's terrible. I've tried this year. I've said I'm going to try not to get sucked into my phone, which is what I do. I just stand there, like, sucked into my phone, going through this. And then I'll like go, I've not checked Facebook since the last cycle. I'll go back onto Facebook. And then it begins again. And like, it must have trained people to be more confrontational, more. And we reward it, like what Tim was saying, like, as you know, it reflects who we are, but we then also reward that in real world. These people who say perhaps horrible things are then, like, nowadays rewarded with television shows or radio shows or entire TV channels based around espousing that point of view, like, or similar points of view. So like, we kind of like reward this kind of stuff. And if you flipped the algorithm and that kind of stuff was just pushed down, and these attention seekers who wanted to probably grift, if their way of grifting was, I'm going to have to just start shoveling positive content, start shoveling positive affirmations out to people, you can be, as grifty as you want. If you're doing that, I don't mind. Like, if your way of grifting and gaming the system is just saying really happy, positive things and trying to keep everyone's chins up, A-okay, you go for it, mate.
Do you know what? That's the answer. That is just monetized positivity.
Yeah.
Like, okay. First of all, I heard the story once, and do you know what? I've never fact checked it, but because it's so sad, I'm going to assume it's right. That there was once a newspaper created that would only report on positive stories, and it stopped its run within 6 months because people don't like, which is really sad, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I remember that newspaper. You're right. That was real. Yeah,
it is real. Fantastic. Was Will. RIP happiness and positivity. Yeah. Oh my God, that's the soundbite. There we go.
There you go.
RIP happiness and positivity. Hit the music. So, why can't they do this? It's got this £1 billion. Let's get algorithms. In fact, right, okay, so there's an onus on people and there's an onus on the owners. The owners aren't going to do anything because they are rolling in money and they do not care. They're going to swing an election. They're going to do whatever they want to do. The people need to just be more positive. They need to think of positivity as, I don't know, a way of life, as a business, as themselves, just
as a business. Yeah, that's so cynical, but he's probably like monetizing happiness again. The way, like what you said, was so cynical, and yet it's probably what would motivate huge swathes of people.
You get a penny for every positive post. I guarantee by the end of the day, everyone has done 100 pennies worth, which equals to £1 for the international listeners of positive posts, right? So they've got their 100 out there. By the end of the year, they've earned £365.
Careful.
Because of positivity. But what you've also got is the mass of 100 times 365 positive posts, and you've
Yeah.
got everyone doing that.
Yeah.
Let's
But who
monetize
vets what's happy? That's the problem, I suppose.
algorithms. Come on, RJ.
The robots.
Oh my God, I think we're making it worse. I think we might have opened the wrong door here.
Have we
Give it all over to
overcompensated?
AI. Let the algorithms sort it all out, and it'll be fine. I don't know. Maybe it's all right. Maybe it doesn't need fixing.
Oh, what?
Well, then
Social media.
this whole episode was pointless. Then, thanks, Tim.
That's my contribution.
And it's good night from me, and it's good night from Tim.
Well,
No,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't like the idea that you make forced positivity and monetize it and make people do that. That's not a solution. That's a different problem. It's almost as terrifying as the one we're trying to solve. But I think it just shows the level of desperation we're having to reach out to it to try and come up with an answer.
But I don't think you're forced to be positive in this system that we're proposing, but you'll benefit from it.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty good. Like, if there's a way of say, maybe just, I don't know, if it can train us. I think the algorithm can train our tiny human brains to respond positive, like to engage. I suppose it's engagement, isn't it? It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative to the machines. It's just like what gets the engagement, because the engagement is how we measure interactivity and therefore how we can set our prices for adverts, etc. So if it can train us to want to interact with the good stuff, then I think that's only a good thing, personally. Like,
you could be right. What you're talking about there is actually moving humanity onto the next level.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. We need to evolve. Evolve. Yeah.
Fix social media by evolving humanity to a state of nirvana. Higher consciousness.
What? I thought we'd struggle with this, but I think we've absolutely nailed it.
Everyone should just be happy. Did you watch Black Mirror?
Some of it.
There's the woman who, I want to say her name's Bree something, but she went on to be in Jurassic World. Anyway, but she lives in this world where you rate every single interaction. So you say hello to someone. Oh, hi, how are you? Oh,
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. How are you? And you get, 5 stars. Thank you very much. And if you want to really upset someone, you get 1 star. It's about this woman who was I don't know, she needed to be a 4.5 to get the best rating, because it kind of controlled your credit rating and what services you could.
Yeah.
And everything. And essentially, I know she had a bad day. One thing happened, then another thing happens. And then all of a sudden, all these 1 stars because her mood changed. And then she's gone from this person who was on the cusp of being within the elite to this person who's a bottom dweller and is, I know, then lives happily, I don't know, driving a truck or whatever it is. Fantastic episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely fun. I honestly think we're closer to that than we are to monetizing happiness, which is so upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Because people, that's kind of like review bombing, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah.
Which is another thing authors have to deal with if they've been, usually if, I don't know, the ones there's a booktuber called Rachel Reads or Reads with Rachel, and she does a series called Authors Behaving Badly, and it's just hot gossip on who's been naughty in the author world. And I'm obviously addicted to it because I'm addicted to drama. And she talks about how there's lots of review bombing, and when someone does something awful, people just go in 1 star their books on Goodreads or whatever and just drive the ratings down. When Goodreads, I think, is a kind of social media, isn't it? So yeah, you're right. We are closer to that Bryce Dallas Howard episode of Black Mirror than we are monetizing happiness. And yeah, if the algorithm could just feed us happy stuff, we'd be happier people.
Which yes, I've never felt so much joy as when I'm just watching puppies and kittens. And then all of a sudden, I know some political post comes up and I'm angry again. But then there's another puppy.
Funnily enough, I got home tonight from having the car broken down and feeling really ill all day. Got in, and my wife, to cheer me up, put puppies on the cast puppies, sheepdog puppies onto the bit widescreen TV, and I was like, "This is perfect."
There you
Yes,
go.
sorted me right
Oh
out.
my God, she's a keeper.
She
She is,
sounds
yeah.
great. Yeah.
She is.
I have right. We're about to wrap this up, but I have one more solution, which would just basically make. You'd have to have world governments change.
Right.
So it's probably almost as far-fetched as asking billionaires who run social media to change. But we've kind of mentioned, and this is also going to sew up a lot of stuff we've spoken about in this episode. It's almost like I'm a professional.
Yeah.
Almost.
Almost. And I've instantly just forgotten everything I was going to say. How bad's that? Right. So we've spoken about creatives, right? So being a creative and how you have positive feedback, but also there are some people out there who don't like other people succeeding because they can't do a thing or they can do a thing or whatever. They just haven't done that thing. Then there's stats bombing and all these things. Right. Here's the idea. How's about everyone has something they're passionate about? So you're actually allowed more time not working, more kind of creative time for yourself, whether it's a few hours a week or an hour a day or 1 day a week, that you can work on a passion project. And it may be pottery or making flower badges. I don't know. It could be writing a book. It could be doing voiceovers. It could be hosting probably the most under recognized but best podcast that's ever existed. What if people have something that they're passionate about? If people have something they enjoy, they would then understand that journey of, here you go, world. This is something I've made.
Yeah.
Please like it, or at least
Yeah.
if you don't like it, don't crap on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Move on.
and then they'll understand, and then other people will be like, hey, look, I enjoy this, thank you, I'll take this and I will tell other people. And if everyone just has that little spark in them, even people who don't believe they can create or can make anything, they've got something, because even if it's, I don't know, anything, I say even, but anything, just give people more time to create something they love and put it out into the world. And make it easier to do as well, because social media, keeping up with social media, and I've got to do this for Instagram and that for Twitter. I'm no good at it. And then we've got positive, and everyone's been positive about other people's things because they want people to love their things, and they're less likely to crap on someone else's thing if they've got something they need everyone to be positive about. So we're not monetizing positivity, but we're encouraging it.
Yeah. We're rewarding it, but not through money.
I could get on board with that.
We've made Tim happy.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much.
Well, yeah.
Just the changing of entire systems of governance around the world.
Yeah, well, there is that. But there's a bit of legwork, but it feels doable with a bit of bit of prep. Maybe write some stuff down before you start. But I think we could do it.
Definitely.
If there's one thing that this podcast has proven, is that I am an ideas guy, but I'm not really much of a follow-througher. So just pay me and I will put out a positive tweet a day. Tim, RJ, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed that, and I could go on forever, and we could come up with an algorithm of different ideas.
Yeah, we could.
Just remember, wherever you go, whenever someone gets their phone out, just shout Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better podcast, because then it will come up on their algorithms, you see. They're always listening.
Always
listening.
Right, Tim, give us a quick re-go on the books. Names, where to find them, name of the Kickstarter. Go.
Yes. Okay. So look for Tim Hardie as the author. So that is my name, and that's the best way to find the books. Perfectly honest with you. Or look for the Brotherhood of the Eagle series. That'll bring up the series that RJ and I are hoping to audiobook kickstart. I think in terms of where to find me, where to find out about it, those kind of things. Tim Hardie author as a combination of words is always a good one to use. So that's basically my X/Twitter handle. Tim Hardie author public is where you'll find me on Facebook. And you can also find me on Blue Sky, which is another whole realm of social media question markness. But I'm on there and it's very nice. So you could try me there as well. So that's Tim Hardie author at Blue Sky. Or if all that was said too quickly and no one could write it down, you can look them up, find all those details on the website. That actually brings everything together in terms of all the stuff I've created, all the books, and where to link in with me. And that's at timhardieauthor.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tim. And very best of luck with the Kickstarter. And RJ.
I want to say thank you so much for having me on. It's been a real treat. So thank you so much for that. I've enjoyed myself immensely after a terrible day as well. It's been a real good way to go out, not in the biblical sense, but like end the day. But if you want to find me, you can probably just best off go to my link tree. It's linktr.ee/RJ Bayley, and Bailey is spelt the weird way, Bayley. If you want some free audiobooks, there's 2. I have a podcast. I'm going to do a 3rd one this series this year called Bailey's Bookshelf. So far, I've done The War of the Worlds and Dracula as free, well-produced books in podcast format. I'm going to do Jekyll and Hyde later, I think. And you can find me at Twitter at RJ Bayley. And just type in RJ Bayley voice actor. You'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, should you so wish, all over the place. But Linktree on my website, rjbayley.com.
Fantastic. And look, thank you. And welcome, RJ. And look, should Tim plug his Kickstarter enough and, earns enough to put food on your table, and you then reciprocate by putting words to, or a voice to the words that came from his brain. Look at that, it's so symbiotic. It's lovely, isn't it? You're going to give him the money to give RJ the nourishment to bring your characters to life. It's everyone needs to get involved in this project. I certainly will by sharing it for free. No, I will donate, Tim. I will donate on the 11th of March. Today, it's people who listen to this. I'll be there with checkbook in hand.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Good luck, gents. It's a fantastic series. I have your first book, Tim. I didn't know if you know that, but I do. And I will certainly wait to hear RJ's voice on it because just don't really like reading that much. But I do like RJ's voice.
Thank you. I'm the same. The only books I ever read are the ones I'm paid to. Everything else.
You know what? I feel like I'm pitching all this to the wrong audience. It's a terrible mistake.
Best of luck, gents. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Please do find the YouTube, the Instagram, which is at Better with Jeff, and the Twitter. I'm really bad at doing this part of it. Like, subscribe, like. As my son tells me, I need to say that all the time. Apparently, just in normal everyday life as well. But it's without whether it's a goodbye from me, and it's a goodbye from Tim. Say goodbye, Tim.
Goodbye.
And it's a goodbye from RJ. So goodbye, RJ.
Goodbye, RJ.
Till next time.